Welcome back to a pack a day. There's our rookie list. I feel like those Larry Walkers were coming in hot and they've disappeared lately and not doing well at completing the set, but we'll see how this pack goes. And I just want to say I'm going to play around with formatting a lot throughout this. Things are going to change. This is a project. I'm trying to learn new things. So looks a little different today, but tell me how you like it. All right, welcome back to opening 1990 Fleers. Looking for those rookies, that Sosa, and those guys on the back wall. So I got a list I can look at. Lance Blankenship, not whatever other Blankenship we found last time. All right, so starting off with our quiz, as I bump the camera. True or false? The Yankees have won more world champions than any major club. That's gotta be true. And to this day, because this is before their dynasty in the 90s, true. Yeah. So is there a Yankees sticker? There is Athletics, Mariners, and Twins as well. All right, let's see who we got. Gagnes, Martin Clary, Randy Kramer, Scott Bradley, Jose De Leon, Mike Greenwell, a Hall of Very Good guy, Ron Kittle. That sounds familiar for some reason. Not sure why. I'm going to look him up. Chris Hammond. Ooh. Jeff Hewson. Mike Jackson. Andy Van Slyke, known for being a pirate and a kind of like frenemy of Barry Bonds. I don't think they got along very well. I think it's Gag-Knee, actually. I know there's a Gag-Knee and a Gan-ye in this era. Pat Clemens and Steve Sachs. Did I get a Gan-ye and a Gag-Knee? Let's look through these. By the way, I will get a better table eventually, and my cat is freaking out. I got two Gagneys or Gagnes in the same pack. That's Bush League clear. Anyways, we'll see who we're talking about. All right, catch you next time. All right. Upon further review, I also had an all-star team Mark Davis in there that stuck together. So be careful when you're going through old cards. Sometimes they're a little sticky and you got to separate them. But the Greg Gagne, and I looked it up, it is definitely Greg Gagne, not Gagnes. There are a few other players in baseball history with the last name Gagne. Closer for the Dodgers in like the 2000s, Eric Gagne. But he was French Canadian. I don't know if Greg Gagne is, but if he's French in any way, he denies his French past and stuck with Gagne like a good American, I guess. Don't quote me on that. That's I'm not as controversial as I seem. But I wanted to go through him because Fleer was giving me a sign from 1990 when they packed these cards that like talk about this guy. And honestly, I knew he floated around for a while, but he was a really solid contributor to those like really good Twins teams with like Herbie Puckett in the 80s and early 90s, won a World Series in 87 and 91. The coolest thing I looked up about him, though, a couple cool things, and you'll see one of them. So he hit two inside the park home runs against the White Sox on October 4th, 1986. Two inside the park home runs in one day. So again, that's why I'm going through these cards, not to get rich. I'm looking for stories. I'm looking for cool things that happen. That's the special thing about baseball is a guy like Greg Gagne can hit two home runs in the same day. And not only home runs, but two inside the parkers, which I've seen like five my whole life watching baseball live. It's very, very rare. Something I want to point out about his stats too is he never led the league in any categories, but there's this one black ink in 1994 when he was with the Royals, where he led the league one time in caught stealing with 17. And he actually had 108 steals and 96 caught stealing. So that is not good. But his overall WAR for his career, 26.3, that's pretty dang good. I'm sure 87, 89, those four war seasons, he probably had arguments for making the All Star game at shortstop. I'm not sure who the good AL shortstops were at the time. I'm sure he had some competition there, but I think he has a case for being in those games, and very possible, probable, overshadowed by Kirby Puckett, which is fine because Kirby Puckett is an all time great, and also played mostly center field, which is a shortstop and center field are both prime positions. So I wanted to look at his playoff stats as well. So his playoff stats, like his averages are not great, but he in 12 games he had in 87. Wow. He had 3 home runs, 6 RBIs, 11 hits, so about a hit a game. And I couldn't see anything notable in that. But 91, he had this 1 home run, and that was actually in game 1 of the World Series. And I actually clipped that out on YouTube. That's something I'm playing around with too, is getting some video clips in here. I'm not that great at it. I'm not really sure what to do there. I'm practicing, I'm trying different things. But let's see that home run, and then we're going to talk about it a little bit afterwards. So here is Greg Gagne hitting a three-run home run off of lefty Charlie Liebrandt for the Braves in game 1 of the 1991 World Series.
Pretty well hit. This ball is going to go.
So that's him hitting that 3-run homer. I want to go back to a couple of my favorite parts of this video. Pause here. So I love the old Metrodome. This glass wall, you can see a bunch of, like, there's pictures of, or videos of Kirby Puckett robbing home runs up against this wall, but this little glass wall is one of the most hilarious things I've ever seen. And then there's another hilarious thing. So let's just play it out.
Pretty well hit. This ball
Hilarity
is
number
going to
2 in
go.
this video coming up. So yeah, that's what I wanted to pause on. Bobby Cox, one of my favorite managers ever. I've actually, since I've been collecting cards again, I really like looking for old manager cards. I have a couple from him for Braves, obviously, and Blue Jays. But man, Bobby Cox, super old in 1990. Growing up, I was mostly watching baseball in the mid 2000s.
This
And he
ball
was still
is going to
managing,
go.
obviously still super old. But I just wanted to give Bobby Cox a shout out for sitting there angrily on the bench before we go back to Greg Gagne's stats and just take one look at those again. Not a big home run hitter, not a great hitter, hit 250 average, pretty solid WAR. Definitely not a Hall of very good guy, but Hall of solid everyday player. These are the types of players in baseball I love. Guys that they're going to go out, not really get much recognition, but start mostly every day, between 1985 and 92, he was the Twins' everyday shortstop. That is a stretch of 8 years. And, you can't, I'm sure there's a monetary value, but you can't put a lot of value on that type of player where they're just going to go out every day. That's kind of who, like Spencer Torkelson has kind of become that guy for the Tigers, honestly, where, he has very bad stretches and he has very good stretches, but he plays every day and he helps on defense and he makes scoops, and he's a guy that I don't want to like. He's been frustrating, especially this year, but he's a Tiger and I love him and I love the Tigers. All right, a little long on this one, but hopefully you learned something about Greg Gagné. Two 1990 Fleers in one pack. Wish it didn't happen. Kind of glad it did, though. Thanks for listening.